Good evening, Happy New Year. For those who see it for the first time, I want to welcome you to our first voter education forum of the year. My name is Casey Thomas, I'm former Mayor Pro Tem Council member for District 3, also founder of this organization, Our Voters, Our Voice. We founded this organization 5 years ago during the pandemic to make sure people would be able, who wanted to, get out and vote. And since then, we've done a number of forums. We've had voter registration drives. We've built a coalition of organizations that are part of Our Voters, Our Voice. And so thank you for joining us for this important conversation. I know you didn't come here to hear me, you came here to hear the panelists, our esteemed elected officials, and then Ms. Tanika Miller. So what I'm going to do, Taylor Torrance, who is the founder and CEO of Four Cliffs, not able to be here, but Unisha, who works for Four Cliff and is the one who gets things done and tells, you know, he comes up with the vision and she makes it happen. So Unisha, if you would, just come up and give greetings or welcome, you know, everybody on behalf of Four Cliff, and then we'll be ready to get started.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday, middle of the week. It's a great way to end our day. My name is Unisha Wells, and I serve as the Director of Home Family Supports for Oak Cliff. As you know, we are a nonprofit that have a mission to end systemic oppression. And the way we plan to do that is by increasing the social mobility and social capital of the residents of 75216. We have a 5-year vision to improve the overall quality of life of these residents. And the way we plan to do that is by about 4 strategic initiatives that include Cradle to Career, whole family support, as well as driving community. I appreciate you guys coming to this space today, and just know that you are always welcome in this space.
Right, thank you. Let's do a round of applause. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now we'll start with reading the bios of our esteemed panelists. First is State Representative Tony Rose, a distinguished alumni of Paul Quinn College. Representative Tony Rose has dedicated her career to advancing mental health initiatives, expanding access to affordable health care, and pursuing criminal justice reform. During her time in the Texas House, she has secured funding for major initiatives like the Texas Behavioral Health Center, eliminating costs for reduced price school meals, and expanding Alzheimer's care. She has also passed landmark legislation, including the extension of postmortem Medicaid benefits for Texas mothers from 2 to 12 months. Named one of Texas Monthly's best legislators, she currently serves as the vice chair of the Texas Women's Health Caucus, secretary of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators, and corresponding secretary of the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women. Representative Rose is the first champion for District 110 in the state of Texas, who will always advocate for policies that improve lives, strengthen communities, and create opportunities for all Texans to thrive. She is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So let's give Tony Rose, State Representative Rose, a hand. Next we have State Representative Aisha Davis. Born in LA and raised in Mississippi, Decatur, Mississippi. State Representative Aisha Davis serves in the Texas State House representing District 109. She is a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and the first member to ever be elected to the State House. After her tenure on the Texas State Board of Education, where she led the successful effort for a statewide African American history course, Aisha was voted as Freshman of the Year by the Progressive Caucus and the Texas Legislative Black Caucus. After passing 13 bills in the House and getting 11 bills signed by this governor, Representative Davis will return back to the Texas House of Representatives after not drawing an opponent for the primary or the general election. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our guest for tonight, State Representative Aisha Davis.
I just want to make sure everybody peeped that his voice changed in the second introduction.
We're engaged in a special way that you know how to be.
It's go.
Why? I did not say. State Representative Tony Rose was my political action chair when I was president of the Dallas branch of the NAACP.
and made them look real good.
Great. Make me look amazing. And our last panelist is Fanika Miller. Fanika Miller is a Southern Black political strategist and movement architect with over 2 decades of experience advancing racial, environmental, and economic justice in the Deep South. She currently serves as the National Field Co-Director at Black Voters Matter Forum, where she leads field operations in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. Oh my God. In this role, she spearheads national efforts focused on voting rights, healthcare, and environmental justice. She holds an MBA from Wesleyan College and a BA in political science from Fort Valley State University, along with executive certifications in nonprofit, entrepreneurial leadership, and power, innovation, and leadership. And that is Ms. Fanika Miller. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start, and we'll start with our state representatives. Oftentimes, people don't know what state representatives do. So this is a great opportunity to hear from those who do the job. What does a state representative, a member of the Texas State House of Representatives do? What are their responsibilities? So we'll start first with the elder member, State Representative. The longest tenured member. The senior member, there you go. Senior hopefully is a bad word, so as long as you say it, I say it. Senior member of the Texas House of Representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
You're very welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. You being here tonight really shows that you have a vested interest in the community. So I just want to applaud you all for being here. Also want to thank our Vote Our Voice for this platform. You know, I think a lot of times, you know, when people think about voting, and anyone who knows me know that one of the things that I always say is we have to educate people on why they need to vote. You know, sometimes we just tell people we have to vote. For years we've always stated, you know, our ancestors, and of course we appreciate that and we're all grateful for that, but you know, we have a generation now that is kind of a little removed, and I mean, in which we do need to educate them on it and make sure we still state that. But we have to educate people. With everything that's going on right now, a lot of people are not equating it to voting. One of my line sisters called me today. She works for an organization and they lost their funding, and she called to let me know that she was fired by Trump yesterday, today. And so, but a lot of people don't equate it, and she works with a program that deals with HIV, and she does counseling, and so a lot of people don't equate that to voting. But all of that has to do with voting, because voting impacts everything. And I tell people all the time, you don't do politics, politics do you. Mm-hmm. And that's a clear example of it. You have people who don't vote, but then there are a lot of times I'm in a line at this grocery store, and if I see a person using their SNAP card, I just bring up a conversation about voting. And that's what they say, well, I don't vote, I don't do politics. And it's like, honey, these people don't want you to eat. They don't want your kids to eat. They don't care about you. And so then I go into, explaining why and how it impacts it and how it equates. Because until we equate voting to everyday life, we will continue to suffer. And so, I forgot what was my... Okay, anyway, I just got on my soapbox about voting, but I just wanted to get that out. And so as far as a state legislator, a lot of people don't understand, because even with my office, we receive a lot of calls, but all different kind of reasons. They could be on the federal level or the city level, but we still, we can't just tell people, well, that's not what we do. But people don't understand what it is we do, and then that's when we explain it. But we still work with them. We work with Congresswoman Crockett's office. We work with Maxie Johnson, Councilman Maxie Johnson's office. We work with even when Mayor Pro Tem was there. Yeah. We still work with the council members to get people connected, but we also try to use that opportunity as to educate them about the levels of government and who does what. And so a lot of people don't understand that as state legislators, we're lawmakers. We make laws, we create laws for the state of Texas. And so sometimes people don't get that. They just think when you're an elected official, they think you have jurisdiction over everything. And so I just try to make it clear that as state legislators, we, you know, we make laws for the state of Texas affecting education, infrastructure, healthcare, voting. All of these things are things that we as lawmakers, we make laws on. And one of the most important things that I want people to know as far as the Texas legislature, and all legislative bodies are different, like Casey Sheridan, a member of the National Black Caucus and State Legislature, so you know, when you get into a national organization, you can get from everywhere. A lot of my friends had their opening day yesterday because they were sworn in for their legislative session. But in Texas, we're only in session during the odd years. And the real kicker about it, when we're there for 5 months, for 100, and it's only for 140 days. And for those 140 days, we have to cram everything we need to do for the state of Texas for two years worth of work in those 5 months. And a lot of times it really don't get started until after we've been there at least 2 months. So for about 3 months, we're really, you know, working really hard to try to get those things that impact our community or things that we want to do to improve lives for our communities within those 3 months. And as far as, I mean, and the main thing, the reason we only meet every odd year because we're only constitutionally mandated to pass a budget. That's the only thing we're constitutionally mandated. And I want people to realize too, your Texas legislators, we're part-time. So, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, we're not like, you know, city council members, we're not, you know, congressional or like the county commissioners. We're only part-time. We actually have other jobs besides the job that we're doing for the state of Texas. And so I tell people, you know, a lot of times, even when I'm trying to encourage people to vote, they say they don't, you know, I hate doing it because it makes it seem like I want you to vote just because I want you to vote for me, and that's not it. And I have to tell people, because a lot of people think the elected officials just want you to vote against them because they think for some reason you're rich, now that you're an elected official, and I have to tell them this is a non-paying job. We get a stipend of $7,200 a year, which is equivalent to $600 a month, which is $19.22 a day. So I have to make sure that I let people know that
That's right.
I'm doing this because I love my community. You know, I left the job that I love and work that I love doing because I had the audacity to believe that I could go and try to improve the lives of my community. And so that's why I take the work that I do very seriously at the state capitol. And that's why I have the most democratic district in the state. But I work with my colleagues because, listen, politics is a numbers game too. You know, it's easy to say you don't want to work with this person. I gave up too much to go down there and not get anything done. And if I'm going to be doing the work, I want to be productive. And I don't have a problem, you know, talking with anyone about an issue. And so, and I do contribute that, you know, then, because I have colleagues that have told me they've never spoken with their senator. They're Democrat, but their senator is a Republican, but they've never had a conversation with their senator. Now, how crazy is that? How crazy is that? So, anyway, I think I'm going to just, I just don't want to talk, and I'm going to let Aisha kick in here and add something to it, and then we can, I feel like I'm just going and going.
No, thank you again for this conversation. Even though we only meet during those odd years, sometimes people think we don't do anything in those even years. And so this is why this conversation is so important, because this is when we really start to think about that legislation that we will introduce in those odd years. So a lot of my colleagues are already thinking about that. They're already having those conversations, and they're going to start working and writing things in the summer, and it's going to be ready to submit by November. So this is that time when you really need to reach out to your legislators like, hey, this bill passed last time and it was terrible. We really need to do some changes this next session, or we still need some more resources towards this, so we can start doing that research to see, you know, where it really does fit in Texas law. But this is that time, this year, we'll be working the entire year to figure out the legislation that needs to go next session, and it's time to think about that harmful legislation that we know is gonna happen next session as well, so we can start building that defensive strategy. We know every single year is gonna be something bad against voting rights. We know it's gonna be something bad against public education, against women's health rights. So just thinking about some of the things that have been in conversation in the media, some of the things that you've heard some people say, hey, you know, I really wanna go down there and take this right away. Just how can we come together to form a coalition so that when those bills are introduced, we already have a game plan together to address it? And one more thing I want to say, the session does go really quick, goodness. By March, April, May, we were there early mornings to late nights, So during session, everything is moving. We're already trying to figure out these thousands of bills that have been introduced before us. So that's why all the work into crafting those bills has to happen during this interim.
So recently, actually last week, was it this week? No, last week the speaker, sent out even though we're not in session, as Representative Davis just stated, we still are working. Again, we're part-time, but we're still working because, during the interim, we will do what is called interim charges. So interim charges are just any issue or something that, you feel that you may want to work on, to where we'll have different hearings on it. Like one of the things that I've had this bill several sessions. It's a bill that will create an advisory board for persons with IDD. We've done it with persons with we've done a mental health advisory board, and then I passed the bill that did one for aging, and I also have one for IDD because what has happened. Back in the day, I know you all remember the term mental retardation, MHMR, and so, once they changed the name from retardation to IDD, it has gotten lost. I mean, it has really gotten lost in the conversation, and so a lot of times people are just focusing on the mental health piece, but then you have this whole other population of people that are really not getting the attention. And so the whole purpose of me creating the advisory committee so that they would be able, and what it did, it would have all of the different agencies who work, like HHSC, the Workforce Commission, all these different all these different agencies that work, and it also has some community people as well. But what it did, it would allow them to come together and talk about the resources for the IDD community and any other action that may need to be taken. And the governor has vetoed my bill twice. I keep doing it. But this time, I'm going to put it on him. I submitted it to see if we can do a hearing so that they can be more educated on it. Because sometimes people just see a bill and just vote no, this, that. But during the interim, you can make a request for a certain issue that you want to be studied so that we can discuss it. And so that's one of the things that I'm submitting so that we can go ahead and get it across the finish line. And I really think the big issue in the governor's office is the fact that he has an IDD advisory board, but this is totally different. Mine deals with more of the agencies, whereas his deal with more of the outside population. And so anyway, hopefully we'll be able to get it across the finish line because I've seen what it has done for the mental health community and I've seen what it has done for the Asian community, and I really do believe the IDD community will benefit from it. And so we do have hearings, and once they put out the call, so the request for us to submit them, and I think the deadline is in February, and then usually after the elections, because this is an election year, so a lot of people after the March primary, then we'll start having different hearings on different issues. Because what I tell people all the time, by the time I get to the legislative session, I already have my agenda, I already have I have all that already ready. Because to me, this is the working time. This is the time to work, to pull all that together. You can't wait till you get to Austin and then try to get to work. You have to sort those issues out, get your bills laid out, talk to the stakeholders, so that you can make sure that you have all the information you need to try to get it across the finish line.
Very good. What I want to do is I want to have Fanika to talk about Black Voters Matter Fund and talk about how important it is for organizations like Black Voters Black Voter Matter Fund to work with state representatives. And how this came about, one of the ways in which this came about is I was thinking about, you know what, it's important to start talking about legislators between the, I didn't know it was called the interim, but ironically, we were at St. Luke, visit St. Luke Church, and Black Voters Matter was there, and Fanika was in town. And Reverend Davis and Fanika was having a conversation, and they were talking about, yeah, you know, we need to definitely get together. And we had a state director, Stephanie Williams, who's here. And I said, you know what? Our community needs to know about this, needs to know about how important it is to have these conversations before a session starts. We come down and we run up and we say, here are our priorities, but we hadn't had conversations with you. So Fanika, if you would, talk about the organization and talk about the importance of working with and having conversations early with our state representatives, since you represent several states in the United States.
So good evening, everybody, and thank y'all for having me. I've been over here feverishly taking down notes because the sisters on the panel have been dropping, you know, so much knowledge. As Casey shared, I am one of the national field co-directors for Black Voters Matter Fund, and I have the pleasure of working with our amazing Texas team to really do deep organizing. When I was 14, my cousin put a clipboard in my hand and she showed me how a doorknob can change my destiny and how important it is to have the right representation at the table to really move policy in the way that these sisters are discussing. Before joining Black Voters Matter back in 2020, I was deeply engaged in party politics for about 13 years as a county party chair, congressional district chair, you know, and all the things. So I really bring both perspectives to the discussion. And I started with Black Voters Matter as a partner who was doing organizing on the ground from a grassroots perspective, but relying on the party for most of that infrastructure. But when Black Voters Matter came to Georgia, I really understood the gaps and, you know, the importance of a 365 deep engagement model that, you know, most of the folks that we work with are already doing, but I didn't have the language for that. So Black Voters Matter is a capacity and a power building organization. And we focus on expanding Black voter engagement and increasing Black political power. We believe that Black voters matter, not just in urban areas, but everywhere in those rural pockets of East Texas and, you know, Black Belt, Alabama, small towns where, you know, folks who are busy, candidates, political parties, don't often have the opportunity to get to. Of course, y'all know we're a national org, but we have 5 core beliefs, and those core beliefs are what attracted me to the organization. 1, we support, not swoop. That means that we go through the existing infrastructure. We find grassroots activists, community leaders, folks who are already addressing issues of social justice. They have authentic relationships with folks in their communities, and we build their capacity to do their work better. It's that kind of capacity building that saw, y'all know, historic turnout in 2020, historic turnout again last year, delivering triple trifectas, you know, just all the things, and we do that with our partners. Our second core belief is Black voters matter, and not Black votes. Black votes are important, but there are 365-day issues that affect Black people that don't start or stop on election day. And so that's why our name is Black Voters Matter. We believe that messaging matters. I matter, we matter, we matter. Those are core affirmations that are on all of our swag and shirts. It's about us. We make people believe in the impossible, make them want to get on that blackest bus in America. We're not afraid to speak to the race issue, even in hostile political climates like the one that we are in. We speak to people honestly about the issues that regardless of the outcome of any election, you're going to hear and see the humanity of Black people. Trust Black women, that's my favorite one, y'all. And that's really what attracted me to Black Voters Matter. We invest in Black women And there's a certain reality that black women deal with every day, and we still show up to vote 90% of the time. And 90% of our partner organizations are run by black women. And finally, we are a black power building organization. There's no path to victory at the local, the state, or the federal level. There's no path to building a more progressive or sustainable country or states that does not include black people. And we just have to, recognize that, acknowledge that, and really begin to lean into that unapologetically. So that's a little bit about Black Voters Matter. I'm really excited to be in the conversation. When Casey, you mentioned in the interim, all of our work happens in the interim, right? Tell people all the time, again, the hard work starts the day after the election. We can't go home and just rest. It's that time where the folks that we've elected, we have to walk through the doors with them, with our policy agenda in hand, and then have put a demand on them to be accountable to the issues that they've come to our doors and asked for our votes for, that they've said that they're gonna do, as they've run, commercials and all the things in their platforms. And if you cannot do or deliver those things when you get in and you get the full picture, then what we want our folks and our community members to be able to do is have transparent and honest conversations around where are the areas that we can shift. So then there's room for the organizers, there's room for the activists, there's room for the advocates, and all of the folks to kind of work in synergy towards the common goal. So.
All I said is amen. I mean, that was a lot. Thank you for that. Our voice has been supported by Black Voters Matter for a number of years, and Representative Davis, who was board member Davis at the time, and Representative Rowe, you may remember, we had a brunch at Kitchen and Cocktails, and we invited the D9 organization and all of our Black local D9 state officials. That was funded by Black Voters Matter Fund, and the whole purpose of that was to get us motivated as members of D9 organizations to lead our community to get out the vote. So I want to give that issue.
I do want to respond.
Please.
I mean, she was absolutely correct in saying we have to be unapologetic in advocating for our communities and ourselves. Because even as we were going through the conversations about redistricting and everything, I thought about how Texas was about to lose 2 of the 4 Black congressional seats that we've had. That was my concern about how our district was about to lose those economic engines, and how African-American voters were about to be disenfranchised in Texas. Those were the things that were bothering me, where I was like, okay, well, let's get out of here when that was an option. And we were speaking about that. Nobody was as loud as the Black Caucus was on those issues. So we have to be the ones down there fighting to make sure that we're at the table during those conversations, and that our needs are in the conversation. And if we're not there, it won't be included, I can tell you. So just knowing and understanding what our community needs to thrive is so important. And we have to make sure that anybody who's putting legislation forward is intentional and making sure that they're aware of that and they're including that in whatever legislation comes forward. But I am telling you, we have to be unapologetic about speaking up and knowing what our community needs.
And I'm glad to hear you say that.
This is where we say thank you to our legislators.
Absolutely. And I want to commend them both for their courage. I was on the phone probably every night with both of them at different points in time as they were getting ready to get up out of there. And I mean, to have to uproot from your family, to uproot from your job, I mean, on almost 24-hour notice, hey, we leaving, and this was something that they both will say, you know what, hey, we gone, we out, because it was so important, because the very rights of and ability in order to have representation of our choice was literally at stake. And they both did that, so I think they definitely deserve and I know the nominations coming out. I hope the NAACP, and I'm biased, but I hope the NAACP Image Awards has a special, recognition for y'all for having the courage to do that. Because President Derrick Johnson was 10 toes down, supporting in whatever way, possible. So, I got a little influence, whatever influence I have. And if that can happen, y'all deserve that. Y'all truly deserve that. So, we're gonna transition, it's a poor dog that won't wag his own tail. So this is an opportunity for both of you. You accomplished a whole lot during this crazy session. And so I want to give both of you an opportunity to talk about your accomplishments. I can tell you it's important to be able to have a relationship with your representative. I was getting on Representative Rose's nerves calling saying, don't let this get on the calendar, because that anti-DEI bill had passed the committee, and it was up to her being on calendar committee to determine if it was gonna be heard on the floor. And I'm literally begging, Reverend Rose, please, whatever you can, it ain't coming. She just was calm, and I was like, what you said? It ain't coming. We already figured out what's gonna be on the floor before the end of the session. I said, well, thank you so much. Because there's a lot of people that fought really hard to pass racial equity here in Dallas and other parts of Texas. And with the, just the passing of a bill, all of that would have been erased, as we're seeing from a national level. But I want to give y'all the opportunity to talk about your accomplishments. Reverend Day, we're going to start with you. Some things that you accomplished during this session. We take a turn. Don't start.
I was able to get some bills passed into law, but I think the most important thing was just understanding how the legislative process even works. And I think Rep. Rose she never brags about how powerful she is in Austin, but she has a lot of power in the Texas House of Representatives. Because you can do everything you can to write the best bill and you can get it into your committee, but if it doesn't get on the floor, you don't have a chance at sending it over to the Senate. And Rep. Rose is vice chair of that committee that decides when and if your bill will make it to the floor. That's a lot of power. So understanding those dynamics and learning from those who've been there, who have been through lots of things. This isn't the first quorum break. So, hearing about how it was in 2021 and learning those lessons and, how we were able to organize better this time around. When bad bills were coming to the floor, knowing, okay, this person leads this is what we're going to do. Knowing the strategy of trying to fight those fights that you're not going to win, but you got to do whatever you can to at least fight to the very end. Figuring all of that out and then building those strategies so, hey, next time around, they're going to try it again, we'll be ready to fight once again. So I just learned everything I could to be an effective legislator. Like Rep. Rose said, some people go down and say, I'll never talk to somebody on the other side of the aisle. Well, how you plan on getting stuff passed? And I'm in a minority party. I know I'm gonna need votes from the other side of the aisle if I want something to pass. So you have to build relationships. You gotta let them know, hey, this bill is important to Texas, to your community members and mine. And building those relationships and having those conversations, those are the things that I had to do to be able to pass things into law. And just, figuring all that out is what we're gonna do to start working on that early again for next session. And I would say building those relationships with community organizations was key. Nearly every bill that I introduced was because I talked to somebody in an organization or a constituent and they told me about a problem and we were trying to figure out how to fix it. So it wasn't necessarily because it was something just Aisha wanted or something that I saw a party wanted. It was something because a constituent needed this or a community group needed this to be able to provide resources to somebody. So y'all are the experts for real. Like I was calling somebody every day, all day, like you gotta explain this to me. Like, oh my God, what is this? I was asking Casey all the time, like, what is this kind of tax stuff? It's every day. I just asked him the other day about some stuff. But y'all as the experts, we depend on y'all to let us know, okay, if this bill passes, what are the implications or the repercussions of it? So just getting to know all those different groups. I'm education, I've been pub ed my entire career. So now I have to figure out healthcare and foster care and all of the different things that we govern in Texas. So just, getting to know all of you and learning from you has been key in me being able to accomplish anything.
What are 3 bills that you passed that you are most excited about, most, proud of?
I would definitely say I passed a package of 3 bills with Senator Angela Paxton, and they were, Angela Paxton, I know. And it was about foster care. So that's what I'm saying, even though we're on opposite sides of the aisle, we're in different chambers, we have that in common. It was some groups that were getting these foster care contracts, but they were not doing the best things for kids. And so this package of 3 bills, it says that, okay, the state can pull those contracts, they can make sure somebody else more responsible has them. There's not a gap in that transition to make sure those kids still receive care the entire time. So that was really important to me. Of course, the EDJ highway bill was very, very important to me. And we've been having a lot of those conversations. You'll see those signs coming up very, very soon on 67. And one other one that was really important to me was one that gave student loan repayment options for for school counselors. A lot of our schools around Texas are desperate for school counselors, desperate. And this was a way that we could have a recruitment tool to get, more folks interested in the profession. And when I went up there, I was like, oh, this is one everybody will love. We all have schools that need counselors, and oh my God, I was fighting for my life up there. Because it was so many negative, false things said about counselors, said about mental health professionals. So, but it was very worth it. We had to do a lot to get that bill passed. But those were probably the bills that were very important to me that I was extremely proud to work on.
Congratulations. We're both. You're accomplishing this, man.
Oh,
See, I'm gonna tell you, I gotta brag on both of them. You know when a person's not about themselves, when they forget, the question is about you give them a chance to brag on yourself. So they're just,
well, I don't know if I should say thank you for that, but, I know. One of the things, I guess, I just asked, I paused for a second because I wanted him to go and get my newsletter. Because to be honest, it's not like I just, but let me just say this.
This is your district, so.
Huh?
This is your district.
Yes, this is my district, and I was meaning to welcome you all to Texas House District 110. So this past legislative session, I'm really, you caught me off guard, with that question. This past legislative session, so for the past, I want to say the past 4 sessions, I've been a member of the Appropriations Committee. And so I really try to do a lot of my work through the appropriations process, because it's important that, to me, I tell people I always follow the money. For so long, a lot of people say that they don't want to get on appropriations because they feel like it's a lot of hard work. When it is, but one thing about being on appropriations, you really get to learn how an agency operates. It's not like you just voting on money and not, you really get to understand the ins and outs of the different state agencies. And I've been a member of the Human Services Committee since I've been in the Texas Ledge. It's my background. Prior to running for office, every job I've ever had was in human services. When I graduated from Paul Quinn, my first job was at, Child Protective Services. I left there and went over to the prison system. And so just moved around, and then I worked, worked for Parkland, and was working in mental health. And so that's just my background. So there was no need of me going to the Texas House and asking them to put me on transportation when that's not my lane. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. Some people go and don't get put in their lane. And so I've been able to work through the legislative process. Now, one of the things that I would say that I'm most proud of, could you please give me one, sir, so I can remember the thing? One of the things.
Okay. If you drive the white Porsche, the trunk is up. Anybody? On public service, so it wasn't me. Anybody? Okay. It may be in.
But one of the things that I'm most proud of, and although the governor vetoed it, I'm still proud that it was able to get done. So, the previous session during the 88, I was able to secure funding to be able to eliminate, reduced lunch for, kids throughout the state of Texas. So what that means is now all the kids in the state of Texas are able, if they're on reduced lunch, because of course the ones who are eligible for free lunch already received the lunch. But now those children, well, I did it for breakfast that year. Let me go back. In 88, we were able to get for kids who were on reduced breakfast and lunch to be able to have free breakfast. And this year, we were able to secure additional money to be able to have it for lunch as well. So to me, you know, and I'm gonna say this, majority of the kids in my district were already on free lunch, but this impacts the entire state. This wasn't anything that just impacted my district. And so something, you know, that was very important to me. And so I was very proud of that. Now, I did put an additional $60 million. So the federal government has a program. Do you remember back in the day when they had like the free lunch program? My grandmother ran the one down in the bottoms. The free lunch program, because she worked with the Dallas Community Council. They had a little Dodd house down there, and she did all the community programs. That's back when they had block grants. And I remember when the program ended, people said, Miss Parker, what happened to the Dodd house? And she would always say Reaganomics. And I was a kid, but I just always remembered that. You know, I probably wasn't paying no attention to politics at that level to understand what Reaganomics was, but that's what she used to say. Well, this year they had a program. The federal government has a program where during the summertime when kids are out of school, they had these EBT programs. And what it was going to do, it was going to allow $450 million to be given to the state of Texas for that program. We just had to pay the administrative fee. And that was going to cost us $60 million. And so I put it, you know, put a rider in, was able to get it in the budget, passed in the House, passed in the Senate, and the governor vetoed it. Now, you have to be some kind of something to not want children to eat. And all we had to pay was $60 million. You all know our budget was $338 billion. And you vetoed, I mean, to me, $60 million is not, I mean, when you look at the whole totality of things,
Yeah.
that wasn't a lot. But he vetoed it, and yeah. And so we'll continue to work on that. We'll continue to work on that. And so, in addition to, yeah. So you all, I don't want to sit here and go over everything. That's why I wanted to give you all the newsletter, but I do want to give another highlight. So you are familiar with the new state mental health facility that's being built here in Dallas. It's on, it's going to be the North Texas Behavioral Health Center. And it's on the corner of Harry Hines and Medical District. And so, this was in 88? I think it was 88. Anyway, it wasn't this past session, but I was able to secure funding to be
And I
able
want
to
to
build
make
that
sure,
facility.
she didn't say, I want to make sure y'all, she said 88 legislative session, she didn't say 1988. Because I missed it the first time, I was like, tell you what down in the 88, but 88 session.
Yeah. And so, but I was able to secure the funding to build it. But this last legislative session, we were able to get some additional funding to be able to start the hiring process, because it's actually scheduled to open this year. And I'm really excited about that, because when I was first approached about running for office, when I was told that my predecessor was not seeking re-election, and I was asked to run, I'm to tell y'all, I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going out with them crazy people. I'm not doing it. And it took a couple of months, because I didn't file until the last day. And that was because we had a conversation, and it was real slippery. They brought my daddy with them this time. We put my daddy on me. And with my daddy, he was shocked too, because he knows how I am with politics. Now, I consider myself a public servant. I don't consider myself a politician. But he knows how I feel about politics. And I said that I really, didn't want to run because I really love the work that I do in mental health. And they was like, well, what better way to impact mental health than through legislation? So then the light bulb clicked. And I was like, oh, okay. And then that's when I finally decided to pray about everything. And then, of course, I decided to do it, and I ran. And so that's why this hospital is so important to me, because as I stated, I was working for Parkland Hospital in the psychiatric department, and so in the Dallas County Jail, and most of the patients I had were inmates that went to the state mental health facilities. And really, to be honest, the Dallas County Jail was the mental health facility, because they were all there in the jails. And so, and as I was, explaining to them when we were talking about the funding, you all are sitting here looking at numbers. I see faces. These are people who I know will be impacted. And so, and I think that's what's important about candidates too, to be able to bring real life experiences to things. I applaud anybody who want to put themselves out there. I applaud
I'm good.
Please go on mute, I'm sorry.
I applaud anyone who wants to, run for office, but, just make sure that when you're running it, you understand, the work that the position entails, and not just want to run for an office. Congresswoman Johnson used to always say that. She used to say, we make this look so easy. It makes everybody think that they can do it, but you really have, you make it look so easy. But people don't understand it's a huge sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice, but I don't have an issue sacrificing as long as I'm able to be productive. And so, another thing that I'm going, one more thing you all have, another thing, so I know you all have probably heard on the news where they was talking about all the kids that were sleeping in the offices of the Child Protective Service workers. Well, I was able to put money in the budget to renovate a building over in Terrell State Hospital. Because a lot of times when you see child without placement, what that means is it doesn't necessarily mean that, well, there may be a placement, there may be places available for children in foster care, but a lot of times these are like with teenagers who don't want to obey the rules, or sometimes they may have a behavioral health issue that causes them to, be a little disruptive, and they're not eligible, or I should say appropriate for just a regular placement. And so that's what was happening. That's why you saw these kids staying in these, sleeping in the offices and having the caseworkers having to, supervise them. And so now I was able to put about $30 million in the budget to be able to renovate a facility now, so that now, instead of these kids being left in an office building, now they have a facility where they can go and get to receive the services and the help they need. And so I've done some other things. I'm
very grateful to have my mother with me. I have friends that, they've lost their mothers at this point in life, but being her caregiver while going through all of this, it was a lot. And you just have to figure out how to, take care of it. Everybody always says, what do you do for self-care? I'm like, I don't know. What? But just try to figure out, what brings me joy throughout that process, and something I can just take a little bit of my day and give myself a little bit of joy. I think that got me through a lot of times, especially when it got really, really tough. Because, like you said, we are human. We hurt, we have feelings. I was a teacher. My whole career. And it's actually in the Texas Constitution, you cannot work a job in public education and serve in the Texas legislature.
You can work in any public institution.
No.
Yeah, you can work for any local government and serve in the Texas legislature.
So it wasn't designed for a person like me to be at the table making decisions for things like public education. Even though I'm the expert, I'm the teacher, I've been there over a decade, I've worked in administration, everything. So, just figuring out how to make it past those sacrifices and never backing down from my community. Those are some of the human aspects of it. And I'm grateful that I have family. I have an amazing fiance.
Okay.
And they've really, really been supportive through all of this.
Shout out to Black Love.
All right.
It kind of goes to the point where I was talking about, when you have people who have the knowledge and skill set for a lot of things that we're making decisions on, but it's a huge sacrifice. I tell people all the time, I had a job that I had planned to retire from. I was fine, but I had to, in order to serve, you can't work. And every job that I've ever had was in the public sector, and so it's like I had to reinvent myself, to be able to serve. I'm fine with it because I'm still doing the work that I love within, in the Texas House, but it's not for the average person. I tell people, you have to be rich. I'm gonna say this and we're gonna wrap this up. At the end of the legislative session, we had one bill that dealt with, raises for the judges. The judges hadn't had a raise in 10 years, but that was because a lot of the Republicans was like, but I told my constituents I wouldn't vote to give myself a raise. But the law says that a state legislator's retirement is linked to the district judges. And so a lot of them didn't want to give the raise. And so I went to talk to the speaker and I'm like, look, I'm not like your homeboys out there. I'm not a trust fund child. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no look. And because that's what you have a lot of people that are just, that's not my story. Next thing you know, I ended up being on a conferee for that bill, but we were able to get the money. But still, I just went in there and told them like it was. That's not me. So like I told them, this was a sacrifice, and I knew it would be, and I was willing to do it. But I knew once I left that I would at least have, the salary. Even though I don't get paid now, but once I retire, I would have the salary of a state judge. And so don't try to keep, that was $30,000. Nah, you're not finna just keep my money, So anyway, that's a whole other story. But I'm just true and transparent. It is what it is.
So I'm gonna take moderator's privilege. There are some questions that are earmarked just for certain panelists, and I'm gonna give them to them, and after they both said they may change, stay around just a few minutes, and you can talk with them one-on-one. But the two that really stood out is about funding, how funding is controlled for mental health, and the other is the prison pipeline and programs. Now, I don't know, I'm new to this, following what's going on with the state sector. I don't know in terms of programs, how much knowledge I have about programs. If you do, you can speak about that. That's related to the prison pipeline.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask the question about the mental health.
Okay.
Because when you talk about, when you say money for the prison, the pipeline.
Yeah, no
the
programs.
program.
Any specific program.
Are you saying, are there any specific programs?
That you know of that address the prison, pipeline.
Give me that card and let us follow up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because y'all programs really not y'all, but y'all fund.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
y'all allocate funding.
And which,
So-
that's why I want to talk about the more mental health, because what
Yeah.
we do, we fund, or we allocate funds to the local mental health authorities, and the local mental health authority here is the North Texas Behavioral Mental Health Authority, and they're the ones who do the funding throughout they're the ones who provide the funding for the local areas. And so, and listen, y'all, I can't be anybody but myself and be real. A lot of times people think that there's not funding for mental health, but there really is. Now I would say this, when I first joined the legislature, it was horrible. But we have really made some huge investments. We're still at the low on the totem pole when you talk about per capita. We really are. But we have increased and put billions of dollars in. And there is funding, and just, again, that's my background, and I've been working in it for years. A lot of times people just don't know how to access it, and I think that's one of the things we need to do is a better job of educating or getting the information out there so that people will know how they can access those funds or access those services, I should say.
Thank you.
I do want to, for the question about the prison programs,
Yeah.
we are hosting the Hope Summit. It was started by Representative Carl Sherman. We definitely wanted to continue that. It's actually next Thursday at Cedar Valley Campus in Lancaster. And we'll be talking about recidivism, resources. We have a resource fair. We actually have a job fair for those who, employers who do second chance hiring. We have folks from TD, CJ there. We'll have DA John Cruzo there. We have Richard Miles as a keynote. So please bring those questions there. That'll be some great opportunities to discuss that, to figure out if you have a particular program in mind. Maybe that's something we can talk about and see if there's funding available, and something that really would have a benefit for those who are justice impacted and re-entering our community. So would love to see y'all there. If you work with any organizations that offer resources to folks who are re-entering our communities, please let me know. We would love for you to set up a table there to share your information. So we do have that. Again, it'll be next Thursday at Cedar Valley, and Rep. Rose will be leading the conversation on mental health on that day.
Very good, very good. What I wanted to do is I wanted to allow Monica to give us, some marching orders in terms of the organization and what are some things that we need to be focused on here in Texas as we embark upon primary season and we embark upon the general election in November.
Yeah, thank you for that, Casey. I think my 3 concrete asks are, we know we have the 4 anchor elections. Black Voters Matter can support in so many ways, including, partnering with you to host one civic education workshop in your own precinct this quarter. We surveyed folks last year, and the way that folks said that they wanted to receive information was town halls, events like this, community forums, and food drives, y'all. Folks are still hungry in this season, so I just wanted to kind of lift that up. So commit to hosting one civic education or event in your own precinct this quarter. Volunteer with us to make phone calls or do some deep canvassing or
The recording has stopped.
talking to your neighbors. There's something, the reason that we trust and support local infrastructure is because y'all are trusted messengers. People look to you for information, to distribute information. They know that you probably attend, your council meetings or events like this, so bring that information back. I like to tell people, not just Mardi Gras, but have a Yardi Gras. Invite your neighbors to your front porch and to your yard and just, throw some hot dogs on the grill or y'all some chips and y'all chop it up about how you can build power within your, 5 or 6 blocks of your neighborhood. And then the other thing, just this work is super hard. So, space and grace for us who are on the front lines. Burnout is.
This meeting is being recorded.
All of the legal attacks and all of the changing rules. We need y'all just as much as y'all need us. There's election fatigue, voter fatigue. And so being able to just spread that joy, throwing into us, not your resources, but just a hug, a thank you, or whatever, an hour to volunteer is always helpful. And then if you want to get down with Black Voters Matter, you can always text We Matter to 25225. We will aggravate you as much as we can with text messages. We might pop up in places, but it's a way for us to stay connected and get information beyond elections. So connect with us, host an event in your precinct, talk to your friends, family members, and neighbors, and just extend us some space and grace and some love and joy.
Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you for doing that. We really appreciate that. I want to give each of you any opportunity for any closing remarks that you may possibly have, charge or whatever. Fortunately, you have opponents, so you don't have to spend your time campaigning, but I know both of you will be pushing to get people out to vote, because that's really, really important. You don't get a bad, y'all don't get a bad on that. You got, it's in y'all. So, go
I
ahead.
think, the great councilman, Maxie Johnson has arrived. I think we should give him an opportunity.
Oh, Elmstein, let's give a round of applause. This is his community office, and we're glad to be in this space, so, it's your district, it ain't mine no more. So, it ain't mine, so I defer to you. So, Councilman, would you like to, yeah.
I don't have anything to say. I just want to come by and support. I told former Mayor Pro Tem that I was going to come by, and he let me know what's going on. And so I'm glad you guys are here. This office is for our community. So anytime we're able to open it up, and we know the people that's at this table do real work day in and day out. You know, and of course some of you guys that's in the audience. So I'm just glad to be here. I don't always have to say anything. Just if I'm in the room, just to support. That's all I'm trying to do. Just let you guys know I'm here and I'm supporting. So thank you.
I think for closing for me, somebody wrote a question, what groups don't vote and why? Our young people, there is a Texas law where every Texas high school has to offer voter registration twice a year. That's the law. But most of our Texas high schools are not doing it. There was a group that did research on it. They found only about 30% of high schools in Texas are actually offering voter registration. So I think we can definitely start there, making sure that we have, if you are certified to be a registrar, go to the high schools in your community. If they don't have anybody registering kids to vote, you can do it. They can't tell you, no, we can't have voter registration here. The law says that every high school must do it twice. So if you need any support with that, that's where groups like OVOV come in, NAACP come in, you know, but I say start with that and then following up with those students. Because it's one thing to register them, it's another thing to keep them engaged and make sure they actually go down and vote. So just creating a pipeline of information, so hey, you know, did you hear about this? Did you know early voting started? What's your voting plan? You know, y'all should get together and hey, did you know they're gonna have a cookout at the polls on this day? So keeping them engaged, but there are enough young kids to really influence these elections. And they want to be involved. But it just takes us encouraging them and it just keeping the word out, just keep talking to them to let them know how important their vote actually is. So I think if I have any charge, it's engaging the young people to get involved, to register, to vote. And when they see the people on the ballot and what they're voting for, I think they will be encouraged to go out and tell other, you know, their colleagues to do it too. But we really, really have a powerful group of youth who want to be involved, who understand what's going on. We just really, really have to give them some responsibility and help them however we can and give them whatever knowledge we can.
Very good.
Oh, yeah, and our precinct chairs, yes, definitely are key to getting that information out.
Thank you.
Let me
Go ahead.
wrap this up with, someone sent a question in about MA time during the last legislative session, House Bill 773, and wanted to know how we could get it across the finish line. I just pulled it up, and it looks like it was referred to the committee, and the bill was actually the Speaker Pro Tem's bill. So, he wasn't even able to get a hearing on it. So, but the question is, how will we be able to get it across the finish line? And I'm pretty sure knowing Speaker Pro Tem Ruby, he's gonna make sure that's one of the interim charges. And whoever submitted this question, if you could give me your name and contact information, I can keep you abreast of what's going on with it, or if it does come up again. But I'm pretty sure knowing him, he will file it again to make sure that we study the issue and hear from the experts to be able to try to do it.
Thank you. Before we close out, I just have a couple of announcements. One, I want to acknowledge Contessa Washington. She is our person on the ground here in the Metroplex. That was a full word for Black Voters Matter. And then there is an election that is coming up on January 31st. If you live in Tarrant County, Senate District 9, it is a runoff. Please go out there, knock on doors, help out however you can. That is a critical election. That one seat will prevent the Senate from being fully filibuster-proof. That one seat. So that's really, really important. It's January 31st is election day. And then the primary election is March the 3rd. So make sure you register to vote. You know your status is good because a lot of people have been purged.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you and your family members have not been purged from that. So I just wanted to share that. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. We meet every third Wednesday. This is our new location. We are here every third Wednesday at 7 p.m. next month. Those who know Candace Wick, she's on there. Candace is our voter education coordinator, and our next session, you're hearing a lot about DART. The next month, it will be a Q&A with Randall Bryan, who is the president or chair of the board of DART. And it's going to be about DART and what's going on with transportation. So if you can, plan to be here. Thank you so much for being here. CW, I love you, brother. You are always on the spot. Let's give CW a round of applause. He likes being in the background these days. But recording this and getting it out to our he sends it out to our neighborhood associations who's next door. You're fine. You did good. Everybody did good. So give our panelists a round of applause. They did a great job. Yes,
The
go
young
ahead.
lady did a QR code that she emailed to you for the sign-in.
Yes.
And I
I'm glad you
believe
mind.
that Sister Candace Wicks may have some announcements.
Okay. Go ahead and get on your Candace. She is our voter education coordinator.
You coming out mute, Sister Candace?
Candace, you got to unmute because you muted everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, she is.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Before you go any further, I would like to acknowledge my counterpart within the Commission for Disabilities with the City of Dallas. Would Commissioner Rockwell please be acknowledged at this time?
Okay.
And he does represent the Pleasant Grove area. So I wanted to make sure that he had an opportunity to hear about OVOV directly, because we talk about the things that we're doing within the community and the activities that we participate in. So I'm so thankful that he was able to make it out tonight. Also, there are various members of the National Panel and the Council of Dallas, and we have a very strong contingency tonight of the Dallas Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated online tonight. So I want to say thank you to all of the Greeks who have been supporting OVOV's programming, and we had an excellent panel tonight. So I just want to say kudos to our democracy defenders and the representative from Black Voters Matter. Let me go into what we're going to be doing for activities. Just give me a second. Okay, y'all, technology. Okay. The first thing that I wanted to remind you of is the last day to register to vote is February the 2nd. Early voting for the primaries will be February the 17th through the 27th. The last day to apply for vote by mail is February the 20th. And the primary election day, last day to receive a ballot by mail is March the 3rd. The general election, of course, will be, let me go to the primary runoff if needed. April the 27th will be the last day to register to vote. May 15th, the last day to register to vote by mail. May 18th through the 22nd will be early voting for primary runoffs. And the primary runoff election day, last day to receive a ballot by mail will be May the 26th. General election, last day to register to vote will be October the 5th, October the 19th through the 30th, is early voting for the general election. Last day to apply for vote by mail is October the 23rd, and election day, last day to receive a ballot by mail is November the 3rd. The Dallas Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated will be having VDR training Get Trained Empowers Voters. Thursday, January 22nd, 6:30 p.m., Southern Sector Rising, which is at 7220 Southwest Moreland. I hope I have that address correct. At Suite 100, Dallas, Texas. This is open to the public. You need to understand your voting duties. Get certified to register voters in Dallas County. That is that. Also, we want to support the Martin Luther King Center here in the city of Dallas. The Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Sigma Lambda chapter will be having a candle lighting ceremony hosted by Alpha Phi Alpha Friday, January the 16th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in the MLK Junior Recreation Center. The location is at 2901 Pennsylvania Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75215. The speaker for the evening will be the past chair of the MLK board, Dr. Michael Waters. And you don't want to miss him. He is a preacher on fire. For those that may not know, the Scholarship and Gala Awards for the MLK Center. The theme is Remaining Awake Through a Great Transformation, Saturday, January the 17th, 2026, 6:30 p.m. at the Renaissance Dallas Hotel at 2222 North Stevens Freeway. We still have tickets available. You can go to the Martin Luther King website or the Facebook page. There's a QR code there. Tickets are still available. The master ceremonies is Stephen Dow from Channel 4. The keynote speaker is Roland Martin. And we are giving the Trailblazers Award to Mr. Richard Miles of Freedom. If you don't know his story, he spent 15 years in prison and should not have been there. He has a true story of triumph and just advocacy for those that need a second chance. So please get yourself a ticket. You don't want to miss that. I believe that those are all of the announcements that I have for this week. Thank you so much for supporting OVOV.
All right, thank you. Crystal Banks is a member of the leadership team. Jill, Crystal, please be brief. I want to give you an opportunity to make an announcement. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and then we're going to close out.
Good afternoon, everyone. Amazing presentation. I have dropped most of the announcements in the chat, and I don't know if you all can see them on the screen. But Friendship West is holding their annual MLK teach-in on Saturday morning at the church. And that is going to start at 10 a.m. At our 2020 Wheatland location. And then also at Concord Church on Monday at 11:30 a.m. They're going to have a Martin Luther King worship service. Dr. Jamal Bryant will be the guest speaker for that particular event. And then also the Denton Black Film Festival is hosting State of the Black Contemporary Church panel discussion. Pastor Haynes and Dr. Sharon Patterson, and also Dooney, the priest, will be the panelist. And then they're going to go over some data and stuff, and I can't remember what the gentleman's name is. Oh, Dr. Jason E. Shelton. And so I will post, most of you all are probably on our DFW Metro NAACP Facebook page. I'll be posting those events there, and then also on Candace, his name escapes me, his civil rights page. He's a member of the Dallas branch, but he has a page on Facebook, so I know you all are either connected with his, his name escapes me, I feel awful. Arthur Fleming's page, I'm sorry, please forgive me. So either on his Facebook page or on our DFW Metro NAACP page or even our Vote Our Voice, I'll try to upload most of these flyers that I have mentioned tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All minds clear? Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, everyone. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out and go. For being here. Have a good night. Let's come out, have a good night.